So before we start, a quick disclaimer about Pokemon Emerald. In case you don't know, the RNG in Pokemon Emerald is broken, so I don't advise anyone to use this method on Pokemon Emerald. You could perform it similarly to the starter hunts, but for the most part it's just easier to avoid talking about it here. So the Pokemon that I'm going to be talking to you about today are the Roaming Eon Duo from Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire versions. I have successfully shiny hunted both Latis in both games using this very method. In Pokemon Ruby you get Latios, in Pokemon Sapphire you get Latias. Now, a few points I'd like to cover. The odds of finding the shiny are 1 in 8,192, like all of my roamers. The shininess of it is determined when you talk to the TV. That's when the frame is hit. When you find the shiny, you should run away and save. This is always the safest course of action when hunting a roamer. And how many encounters per hour will you get? You should get roughly 20 once you've got the method down. Next we're going to talk about what you need in your party. So in slot 1 you'll need an Illuminate Pokemon. You can use the Staryu line, Volbeat, Lantern line, they all have Illuminate. Slot 2 you need a Teleport Pokemon. For this I suggest either the Abra line or the Natu line. And the third slot is pretty inconsequential, but you need a level 36 to 40 Pokemon to repel trick off of. You may as well just bundle this in with the Pokemon that you're going to use to actually capture the Lati. So Wobbuffet is the best for this. It comes with the ability Shadow Tag, so make sure that it's within that level range. If it's above that range you can't switch it in, so it needs to be the first Pokemon to encounter the Lati. But I actually used a Tentacruel and a Crobat. So the Tentacruel was a playthrough shiny. I realised I could trap the Lati by using Wrap, and I also preferred a Crobat with Mean Look. But realistically the Wobbuffet is just way better because it just lasts a lot longer, stays up longer, allows you to throw more balls. You'll also need a Surf Pokemon. This can be in any slot, but I bundled it in with the Tenta. So here's my party. You can see I've got Starmie for Illuminate, an Alakazam for Teleport. Then the third slot was my shiny Latias, which I used to encounter the Latios. And the other 3 Pokemon are all for helping me to capture it, but as you can see I overleveled the Wobbuffet. So this made it about as useful as a paperweight. Now, in terms of the hunt setup itself, all you have to do is beat the Elite Four, buy max repels, and trade in Latios or Latias depending on which one you're hunting, so you can track its location. Once you've beaten the Elite Four, fly to Mauville and go into the Pokemon Center to set it as your teleport location. Then KO any party Pokemon that you may need to, i.e. your Illuminate Pokemon, your Teleport Pokemon, and fly back to Little Root, then save in front of the TV. You're ready to hunt. So after I've showed you this method, I'll show you how to run into those for the first time, and how to catch them on another copy. Before we go any further, I will talk about the main modes of movement for the Latis. So the main mode of movement will be the adjacent route shifts. Every time you cross a route boundary, the Lati should shift to an adjacent route. Occasionally this will randomise, and it will just yeet off somewhere, but for the most part they will just shift to an adjacent route. It should also be noted that you cannot go back and forth between the same 2 routes, otherwise it will just continually avoid you. There's also a mode of movement for randomised location, so every time you release them, they'll be randomised. Every time you teleport or fly, they will be randomised. And every time you go in and out of a building, they will also be randomised. This last one is a very important point, because that's what we're going to be using primarily for this hunt. So what we have here is a map showing all of the routes that the Latis can roam on. So all in, there's 20 different routes. You're primarily going to find yourself in 2 different scenarios, either in Mauville like this, or on a route like this. So I'm going to show you an example of each. So let's just start from Mauville. This is probably the most important image to perform the hunt. So first thing you do is check the Pokedex. If the Lati isn't on any of the highlighted routes in this image, randomize it by using the nearest building. Most often, this will be the Pokemon Center, but if you've just come into the city off a route, because it's randomized, you might be using the gym, or you might be using a random building, or the bike shop. Any of those, it doesn't matter. But if the Lati ends up on the green highlighted routes, it'll be a simple movement. You just move out one route. If it's on a yellow route, however, the movement is a little bit more complex. You'll be crossing 3 route boundaries and finishing away from the side of the city that the Lati originated on. So essentially you'll move out of the city, move back in, and then move to another route. This northern route is also where I suggest using the white flute. It increases the encounter rate a lot while surfing. Now imagine a scenario where you're outside of Mauville on a route. There are going to be 3 main movement patterns here. So first we'll talk about the simplest, which is where it's on one of the green routes. If it's on one of the green routes surrounding Mauville, then you just move straight to that route. If it's on one of the yellow routes, then it's a similar movement. You go through Mauville to one of the other routes. So away from the direction they originated in. And then the most complex movement pattern, if the Lati is on a red route, you will need to cross 4 route boundaries. If it's on your side of the city, go through Mauville, onto another route, and then double back. If the Lati originates on a different side of the city, on a red route, you can just use the same route boundary 3 times, like in the clip, before moving to the potential encounter. Note that you can also do this more directly. You can just move straight to the route and do it in 2 shifts, but I seem to find more success by doing 4 route shifts. So now I will talk to you guys about how you can capture one of these for trade, how you can encounter it for the first time. So bring along your capture Pokemon we discussed earlier. Buy a bunch of max repels after finishing the game and releasing the Lati. You can do it in any of the Gen 3 Hoenn games. So here I'm doing it in my Japanese Pokemon Emerald. And then I want you to come to Slateport, go north and keep going in and out of this building and repelling. Eventually you'll run into the Lati. Then you can either Master Ball it or use your Gengar or whatever you've prepared to help catch these things. That just about wraps this up. I'm going to leave you guys with some more uncut footage of the Mauville Method. But in the meantime, it'd mean a lot to me if you guys like and subscribe, support this video, because I want this information to get out there. Follow me on Twitch as well. I'll be doing the rest of my Roma quest. We now have 5 out of 19 Romas. And we will be building towards the Roma week on the 15th of February. So hopefully this video will see a lot of use then. But cheers for watching guys. Anyway, here's the footage.